Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to May the 18th, 2023, for the Little Rock School District Board of Education Board of Directors meeting. First of all, let me give a great celebration and accolades to the graduates of 2023. I want to thank the students who will be graduating for 2023 from LRSD. We celebrate all your accomplishments. You can tell the story. You can tell the story that a part of history that you survived a worldwide pandemic and graduated in 2023. So I want to especially say congratulations to all the graduates. Are you? So we're ready to begin.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, all two of you who responded. We will start our meeting as usual with Ms. Blaylock with her VIPS report, and then we'll move on to district celebrations.
Thank you, Dr. Wright, and the school board of directors. It's a privilege for me to be here. As always, look at this stack. This is something to be proud of. And I'm going to tell you, it's all two schools, Maybeville Elementary and Maybeville Middle. We can say Maybeville's in the house tonight, can't we? Yes. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to introduce these new partners to you. It's well deserved on their part for sure. So I do need notes with 7 for sure. First, I'd like to introduce to you the Humane Society of Pulaski County in partnership with Maybeville Elementary. So school representatives, I know Principal Glover's with us tonight, and the school site coordinator, Ms. Robinson's here tonight. Callie Allen, right? Is that correct? From the Humane Society. We're so pleased for you to be involved. I know that they do actually humane education, you know, helping children learn child safety as well as animal welfare. And, you know, you have to know better to do better, right? So it gives them the opportunity to do that. So we're very, now, Dr. Wright, you know the routine. You need to come in with these folks. And Mr. Mason is their zone representative. So I'm going to give you your certificates. This is the schools.
Thank you.
This is the
Thank you so much.
societies. And if y'all don't mind standing right over there in front of your slide, the superintendent and Mr. Mason will join you, and I'm going to take a quick photo. We're multitasking tonight, so we'll see what kind of photographer I am. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Would any of you like to say something on behalf of the partnership at all?
Just thank you for having us. I mean, we're always looking for opportunities to serve the community, and in my personal opinion, humane education is way more important than people give it credit for. So
Absolutely. Thank you for being a part of the LRSD family. So the two of you. If they stand up closer to me, they won't be. Yeah, don't put the light in your face for sure. Okay, and so we want to also introduce your second partnership. I don't believe they're here tonight, so you can put that frame down there. This will be the one that goes to the organization. Is Nacho Nachos. I like it. I like it. Of course, they're supporting the school through their community events, their meals and so forth. And I don't know, it sounds like a pretty tasty partnership to me.
Yes.
So tell Ms. Shelley thank you for her involvement.
We will. And I know she wanted to be here tonight, but I know Ms. Shelley wanted to be here tonight, but we just want to, on behalf of Maybeville, just say thank you to the partnership that we have. She feeds during our community, what's it called? Yeah, our community cafe, sorry. Every month, we hold one every month, and so she's a valuable asset to Maybeville, and we appreciate her so much.
It takes a village, doesn't it?
It does.
So thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate y'all. Congratulations to Maybeville Elementary's partnerships. Okay, let's see. So now we're going to move to the middle school. join me in welcoming new Tyler Barber College in partnership with Maybeville. I know Stephen Young and the principal Opson is here tonight. Is anyone from New Tyler here?
They were supposed to be.
That's fine. Y'all come on up. Come on up. Y'all are representing the partnership as much as they are. We'll let you take these certificates. That one's the one for the school. This is the school's certificate. And I think it's really great because this partnership is providing haircuts for the students and staff. And so we can kind of say, you know, it's a cut up, isn't it? But I'm going to do something that we normally don't do. I'm going to bring up a similar partnership, which is Legendary Institute. The Joiners are here with us tonight. They are also a partner at the school. And I asked Stephen, I said, you know, they're kind of doing this in unison in a way. Y'all are a little bit of competitors, but they're joining forces to get this done. And that's what's really cool about it. So y'all join them for your photo. And, you know, the joiner said, you know, we're not going to be cut out of this deal. We're going to get in on it. And so I think it's great. I think it's great when folks can do that and join together. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the school staff can stay there because we have another partnership to recognize. Maybeville Church of Christ. I don't think they have a representative here either, but we want to make sure they get their certificates. So I have one for the school and I have one for the organization. This is really nice because they're close to the school, and the youth minister Daniel Webster is acknowledging how significant it is for faith-based groups and schools to work together to strengthen the community. He had some really good praises for Stephen Young and his group, and so we thank Daniel Webster and Maybeville Church of Christ. So thank you for that. Y'all can just keep stacking up your things there. And then we have lessons learned. I know Kevin Hunt's with us. Come on up. Another partnership to be really proud of. Here's your certificate. Here's the schools. So this is a partnership helping students reach their full potential. And, oh, okay, Okay. See, well, she told me I had to multitask, so I took her seriously. But anyway, thank you. This is a partnership that helps inspire students and motivate them. And Mr. Hunt, I bet you have something that you'd like to say about the work that you do.
I'm sure he does.
You can come to the mic.
I would just say I love the kids I work with at Maybeville. Matter of fact, I'm just blessed to be at Maybeville Middle School, but I'm also blessed to be at Maybeville Elementary with Ms. Glover, because those kids need another voice outside of the voices that they have at home and school to encourage them to continue to be the great people that we know they are.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Yes, thank you.
And sharing that with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
All right.
And last but not least, a familiar group to this district. Come on, Life Skills for Youth. I know you're in the house tonight. We're happy you're here. Here's the school certificate. And we all know Coach Larry Clark and the fine work that these individuals are providing to many of our schools. And Maybeville Middle said, well, don't leave us out. I want our certificate too. And I don't blame them. So thank y'all. If anyone would like to say something on behalf of this partnership, please do. Would you like to step forward? I mean, it can be, Stephen, you want to say?
I just want to say thank you.
Come on.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that is a part of our village, because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes us all to come in with our hearts and minds together on one accord to shift the spectrum. And these people are in our schools all the time. These people come every month and they cut hair of every child that needs a haircut. And I tell you, We couldn't do it without them, and we love you and thank you.
And think, isn't it great? And think about how therapeutic a haircut is.
Oh, yeah.
You not only feel good, but you sit in that chair, a captive audience, and I bet there's a lot of good conversation going on, much needed conversation. So thank all of you. Thank
you.
all of our partners.
Thank you.
So that could, I would just, let's review them. Life Skills for Youth. We want to thank Humane Society, New Tyler Barber College, Legendary Institute. To help me, folks, who else is on the list? Oh yeah, Nacho Nachos. So we thank them all. But before I depart from the podium, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that Little Rock School District has 234 graduating seniors who qualify as Arkansas Scholars this year. And so yes, give them a hand. And I also want to personally thank Vicki Hatter and Norma Johnson for serving as classroom presenters this year. Also, Pamela Smith served. So when they get these folks in their classroom, how inspiring is that? Thank you for giving your time and sharing in that capacity. Okay, here's the list of all of our partners so that way I don't have to be tested. But thank you to our partners. Congratulations, Arkansas Scholars. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock. And as always, we know that we couldn't do the work that we do as a school district without the many partners that we have supporting all of our schools. And I have said this a zillion times, and I'll keep saying it. Out of all the places that I've ever worked, I've never seen the level of engagement that we have from so many organizations from across our region who support our schools. So we are tremendously thankful for all that you do to help us on our mission. All right, and so we're going to continue with celebrations for today. First off, congrats to Little Rock Central High School's Jackson Baker, Elliott Bond, and Aisha Vatoff, and Akul Shrivastava. I know I messed up those names. But all of them received first-class distinction honors, as well as Jackson Mills, who also received a Superior Writing Award at the NCTE contest. That stands for the National Council of Teachers of English. And the only other Arkansas winner in this competition was from Fayetteville. So congratulations to all of those students from Little Rock Central. This week was full of opportunities for us to recognize the greatness of our students and the partnership that we have with many in our community. And so Little Rock Hall STEAM Magnet School was the recipient of two special events this last week and this week. First, we would like to recognize the partnership with Energy. We'll be partnering with Hall Magnet High School in our Academies program. That was a joint announcement with Energy, Little Rock School District, as well as the Pulaski County School District. I believe it was, I forgot the name of the high school. Robinson along with Hall. And then just yesterday, we had a second announcement with a partnership with UAMS, and we are ecstatic about this particular partnership as we will have an opportunity to introduce our students to medical pathways that would lead to careers in the healthcare industry. The students were genuinely excited about these opportunities, and we'd like to thank the Chamber, Energy, and UAMS for helping bring these visions to life, exposing our students to the fields that they might otherwise have not known about. And so several of these students will be participating in summer internships with UAMS throughout the summer, where they'll have an opportunity to learn a host of different opportunities in the medical field. So thank you to UAMS and again to Energy. When I saw this information a couple days ago, I asked Pam to make sure that she included this. LRSD's ACC and Metro program is not only alive, but they are doing extremely well, and the students this year are thriving. Mr. Marvin Burton wanted us to know that you may remember in the citation program, the last one that we had a couple of weeks ago, we recognized several of the students, but there are some additional recognitions for which we need to be aware. The ACC program to date, just this school year, has graduated 60 students compared to 14 last school year. So that is a tremendous increase in the number of students who will be graduating from high school. Metro students to date have earned over 375 certifications this year alone. all 21 students in the phlebotomy program, they all passed their exams this year. Over 20 students have obtained their CNA certifications. To date, over 10 students have secured jobs in their programs of study. 30 students won gold, silver, or bronze during the State Skills USA competition, and 8 of those students will be going to compete at the national level, I believe later on this month or next month. These accomplishments are possible only due to the dedication and the commitment of the students, parents, and the staff, and so we want to give a special shout out to ACC and to Metro. That deserves an applause. I feel like we have recognized this student for so many different things, and she just keeps gaining additional accolades. And so Little Rock Central High School's Anu Iyer has received the Science Olympiad Founder Scholarship for $10,000. Only 5 students were selected out of all of the applicants across the entire country. So congratulations to Anu. Your LRSD family is very proud of you. Speaking of Anu, she will be among a record number of academic signing day honorees we will be recognizing on next Monday. Nearly 130 students that we will be recognizing in our academic signing day on next Monday. Next slide. Congratulations to the newest inductees into the LRSD's One Rock Legends Hall of Fame. This year's honorees include, from left to right on the photo, Lahoma Howard, Eddie Bradford, Derek Russell, Dennis Nutt, Al Flanagan, and Houston Nutt Sr., posthumously, represented by Dr. Rex Horn. Also shown in the photo, far right, event organizer Dr. Fitz Hill. Proceeds from the One Rock Legends Luncheon benefits 6 and Gold athletic programs for all of our middle school students in our district. So congratulations to our newest inductees in the LRSD Hall of Fame. And just last month, we also celebrated Teachers and Classified Employees of the Year. It's worth giving them another shout out. They are well deserving of another shout out. In addition to the 74 employees who were honored, the top teachers and classified employees were named. Because there are so many, we're not going to name them all today, but we do want to recognize our finalists. So on the far left, you see Antonio Jordan, who is a 2023 LRSD Classified Employee of the Year. Let's give him a round of applause. If I remember, he's one of the custodians at Dunbar. Then in the next photo, standing to my left, is Middle School Teacher of the Year, Christine Bugaya from Forest Heights STEM Academy. Elementary Teacher of the Year, Terry Cross from Jefferson Elementary School. And LRSD Teacher of the Year, and the LRSD Teacher of the Year, Dr. Marion G. Lacey Award winner was Rhonda Adams. She is a teacher at Gibbs. She was the, well, all of them are big winners, but she was the big winner. And then pictured next to her is our High School Teacher of the Year, Mr. Spencer Stuttlefield from Parkview High School. So congratulations to all of our awardees. And a special shout out to everyone who helped to contribute to make that event a success. It was my first one, and I did not expect it to be so glamorous. So to Dr. Fields and to all who assisted him, you guys did an awesome job with that, and it was definitely reflective of the honor that is deserving of our teachers. All right, lots to celebrate in May. May is National School Lunch Hero and Nurse Appreciation Days. Were also observed this month, so we want to shout out to Ms. Stephanie Walker-Hines and the Child Nutrition Team, as well as Ms. Jackie McEwen and the nursing team for all they do to keep our students fed and well. It takes both of them to ensure that we have success in all of our schools. All right, and this last week and this week was another just filled with so many different wonderful events showcasing the amazing talent of our students and dedication of our staff. So we celebrated Leadership Day at McDermott and Chico, and I wish everyone would have had an opportunity to experience what I experienced. These were events that were led by the students who had a chance to tell you about all the different things that they have learned with regards to Leader in Me program and all of the different initiatives at the school. They had student-led tours. You got a chance to look through student portfolios where they explain to you the things that they're working on this year, their goals. It was an amazing event. I learned so many different things from many of our students, and I am definitely, not that I wasn't proud before, but I am prouder to be superintendent of this district with so many amazing students across our district. And finally, graduations are next week. I know the students can't wait, and I think I can speak for every staff member that I know that they can't wait as well. It will be my first at LRSD and also the first for West High School. West High School will be graduating their first group of high school graduates. The ceremony start Tuesday and go through Thursday. Looks like the weather will be cooperating, and we hope that it cooperates so that we won't have to make up any of our ceremonies. All of the ceremonies would take place at War Memorial Stadium, and we want all of our family and guests who are planning to attend our graduations to know that there is a bag policy in place. So again, we're looking forward to congratulating and recognizing all of our high school graduates on next week. And I believe that is it for our celebrations for this month.
Thank you, Superintendent Wright. The staff wanted me to let everyone know, we're having YouTube problems, so you may watch on Comcast Channel 4 and UVerse Channel 99. We are recording, and we'll have the recording available on YouTube later. At this time, on the agenda, we have public comment. This is the place in the agenda where we hear from our public, parents, students, stakeholders, and friends of LRSD. We like to hear public comments regarding LRSD issues. We allow 3 minutes. You got me? We allow 3 minutes for public comment. Our responsibility is to listen to your comments. We are not allowed to respond or engage in discussion. We have one person, Patricia? Parlier.
Let me be specific, Mrs.
Mrs.
Parlier. I'm very proud of that fact.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me be here. Mr. Jamal Wright, your assistant and I talked in length this afternoon. 28 minutes and 26 seconds to be exact. I'm very good at math. Over some issues I have with Mableville. In fact, I asked her, and I do not see her here. I very specifically walked outside and asked Miss Iverson to be here. I want her to hear what I have to say. I have talked in length with this lady. Bullying. The bullying at my son's school has become more than a distraction, more than citations on students. My son was physically assaulted Friday night. I get there between 4:30 and 4:40. I understand that students have to be picked up by 4:30. I do in-home care. The people I take care of, I can't always leave at 4 p.m. If they have to use the bedpan and they have to have a bowel movement, that is up to me to make certain that my people are taken care of before I leave. I do not get to that school. Do you know what I see there? No adults anywhere in that area where my child and his friends are sitting. Please explain that to me. I understand that you can't comment back. I'm frustrated. I'm beyond frustrated. My son is physically assaulted to the point I spent 3 hours at Children's because he was hit center mass with a child that decided at 15 years old that it's a good idea when you're mad to reach down, put a rock in their hand, close that said fist, and hit my 15-year-old child. That is never cool. What has been done to the child? Your guess is as good as mine, because as y'all can see, Miss Iverson does not bother to be present for what I have to say. I am a parent. I have every right to be told exactly what is going on with my son. And then to be told, well, I have 600 other students. Great. Congratulations on your 600 other students. What about my one? My one don't matter? It does. It might not matter to her, but he does to me. You see, my son matters a little more because at 35 weeks, I almost lost him. I was 35 weeks pregnant when I was hit head-on by a drunk driver. My son is alive. I forgive that man because you know why? Every day I'm reminded that my son is beautiful. And that drunk driver did something stupid. I'm not going to hold that kind of hate. Do you realize when y'all started your policy about IDs, do you have any idea how long it took for my son to get an ID? Up until Monday. Y'all want to count the many days that is? We started this district in September. I moved here in September 1st. Do you know my son got a student ID? Monday. You know why he got a student ID on Monday? Because I called her in between my shifts, in between my 2 shifts that I work, so that I have time. Your time is up.
circle back around with you.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I would appreciate it.
I will follow up with you personally.
Like I said, your assistant and I talked at great length this afternoon. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to committee reports, district committee reports, PPC.
Well, good evening again.
Good evening.
Hopefully, this will be the last month I'll be here in
You got 3
Lakeitha's
minutes on her
stead.
too?
Not on Teresa, not on Mrs. Gordon.
I'm just kidding.
Nice try, Mr. Mason.
He tried it, didn't he?
He tried it. Yes, he did. All right. I will try to keep it as brief as I can this evening. So, of course, I'm here to report on the Certified Personnel Policy Committee and what we have been doing and what our concerns are. As I said, Lakeitha's still out. Hopefully, she will be back for the June meeting because I won't be here. I will be in Branson at Nationals, Dance Nationals. So, first of all, I want to talk about the concerns that we had in our May meeting. And I want to say thank you to the staff, to the administrative staff that have addressed some of those concerns quickly. I know that tonight we have the proposal for the extension of the elementary and secondary school day. And we did discuss that in an emergency meeting. Was that yesterday? I think I've had meetings every day for 2 weeks. So they're kind of running together at this point. So we did address that, and the PPC voted to adopt it as a proposal. There was a 26-3 vote in favor of adoption of the proposal. And I will say that the work was collaborative. It was, there were a lot of emails, there were a lot of conversations. But it was collaborative, and we were able to come to some agreements. Everybody's not happy with everything. That's what happens in collaboration. There's give and take. You know, I don't want to work till 4 o'clock every day. I'm an elementary teacher. I get there at 7:15 most days, if not earlier. I don't want to be there till 4 o'clock, but guess what? I'm there till 4 o'clock just about every day, unless I'm picking up my daughter at Central and I have to drive across town to get her. Most elementary teachers don't want to work that late because that's why we're elementary teachers, so that we have an early morning and an early dismissal. Secondary teachers, on the other hand, like going to work later and getting off later. That's what they do. They're secondary people. The extension of the day, a lot of staff members said was needed because we don't have enough minutes in our day currently in elementary to teach everything we should be teaching and still fit in all of the things like music, PE, art, computer lab, the recesses. We really need nap time back for kindergarten because let me just tell you, kindergarten in the afternoon is not pleasant. We could use another recess, quite frankly. Our babies need to play, they're children. But this provides us with more time for instruction and more time to do those things that we need to do. It also provides for additional meetings, which is what teachers said they didn't want. And we had to compromise on that. In reality, under the current policy, we only added the possibility of 2 additional meetings because the rest of the meetings are already in current policy. They're already allowed for. They were voted on when the personnel policy manual was first adopted. I say all that to say that We're not happy with everything in here. But you know what? Dr. Wright probably isn't either. But we were able to come to an agreement. And it was an agreement that the majority could support. And I hope that you will support it tonight as well. The next item that we had a concern about is there was a question about a complaint with the Title IX coordinator, and nobody can seem to tell us who the Title IX coordinator is for Little Rock School District. So we do need to get that question answered. The next concern was, when will the employee 23-24 calendars be posted? They were posted almost immediately after the meeting. So that was one of those things that I said the administration really got on top of. Also, the minutes for the board, y'all's board meetings. People still are having a hard time finding that. It's not hard, I don't think, but change is hard sometimes. You have to look for it and you have to read, and I think the problem is that there's two separate places. So if you're looking for before a certain date, it's in one place. If you're looking for after a certain date, it's in another place. I don't know how to make that more clear, but maybe we could look at that and figure that out. Academy team leads at some schools have not been paid for their roles yet. They've reached out to several different individuals at the district level, still not been addressed. National board teachers. I don't know. I would assume that some of you have heard about this, if not all of you. Our national board certified teachers are the ones who go through the lengthy process to prove that they are an accomplished and highly certified teacher. It is a 3-year process now. I am a national board certified teacher. There are 5 others at my school. I actually have renewed. So my certification this year is 17 years that I've had it. I'm debating right now whether to renew it because it's time for me to renew again. It costs a nice chunk of change to renew. And I won't be getting a bonus other than from the district after this renewal. However, I was expecting to get a bonus in May of $10,000, which is what I should have gotten because I work in a high poverty district and I work in a high poverty school, as do my colleagues. Every one of us that work in this district know that this district is high poverty. However, we only have a 69% rating and we need 70% to be qualified as high poverty for the national board bonuses. There is absolutely no way that this district has 69% poverty. It boils down to free and reduced lunch forms weren't filled out. That's what it boils down to, paperwork that I have no control over, and quite frankly, neither do you. And when our students receive free lunch, every one of them, because that's what happened during COVID, they all got free lunch. And they continue to get free lunch. Some of our parents aren't motivated to fill out that form. And I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just stating a fact. How do we fix this? This is the second time this has happened. Our most highly qualified teachers that are recognized nationally for their certifications lost $5,000 with no notice. We expected $10,000 to be on our checks this month. When the check appeared in the portal, it was 5,000. Nobody told us that that was coming. Nobody said, hey, we didn't qualify for high poverty status, so don't expect that bonus. And a lot of people, a lot of teachers are, quite frankly, irate. And talking about leaving Little Rock School District. We have the most national board certified teachers of any school district in this state. At last count, we had over 200. Not sure what our exact number is right now, because people certify every year and we add to those numbers, but people also retire every year, and so we lose a few or move districts or whatever, but around 200. All of those do not qualify for the $10,000 bonus because the law changed a few years ago, and the new people only get their bonus for 5 years. Some it's $2,500. There's a lot of nuances in there. Right now, the Little Rock School District has $59 million in its fund balance. And that's before the end of the year transfers. I would like to ask, on behalf of the National Board Certified Teachers in our district, that we investigate how much it would cost to make those teachers whole. Like I said, even if it was 200, which it's not, because they don't all qualify for the additional 5,000, it would be about $1 million. I'm sure Mr. Bailey could give me exact numbers, because that's what he does. And I would ask that we try to do that. I don't know if you need to make a motion tonight or discuss it amongst yourselves, or if we need to take it to the compensation subcommittee. I'm not sure what we need to do, but we need to do something, because those people had plans and now they're hurting. Next thing, security officers. Little Rock West has a concern that they have only one security officer and they share an SRO with Pinnacle View Middle School, and they're concerned that it is not adequate protection at their school. This was addressed, and basically we were told that that safety and security is constantly evaluating numbers to determine assignments, but I don't believe numbers can be based just on student population numbers. At Terry Elementary, for example, we have less than 500 kids. We don't have a security officer. None of the elementary schools do. But we get threatened and cussed out on a regular basis, including in the middle of a tornado warning. We had to call the police because that was happening. That happened all over the district. It may be time to re-examine our priorities when it comes to safety and security at all of our schools, because our environment has changed. When you look at national news, and even when you look at Little Rock news, our community has changed. And we might need to think about how we're staffing safety and security at our schools, especially our secondary schools. But maybe we need to put safety and security back in our elementary schools. We removed them, I believe it was under Mr. Poore, I think. It might have been before Mr. Poore. Might have been Dr. Suggs. We removed them and we assigned them to multiple schools. And before that, every school had at least one security officer. I think it's time we look at more than just the numbers of students, and maybe look at discipline, look at incidents that are happening, look at all of the numbers. Another kudos to administration, HR in particular. We asked that, the salary placement guidelines be provided and the grade breakdown for classified be provided so that everybody knows in classified where exactly they're supposed to be on the pay scale, because it's very confusing for our classified staff. Certified, it's pretty easy. Classified, it's very confusing. And so we asked that that be posted. It was posted almost immediately. So excellent on that. One of the concerns was, when is the district going to start meeting with the PPC subcommittee on changes to the personnel policy manual? I'm happy to say we met this week for the first time. It was one of my many meetings. And we will be meeting every week, except next week, right? Except next week, because graduations are all week next week, except Monday. And I think we have the other meeting on Monday? Yes. So, that meeting, those meetings have started. And then the grievance policy. The question was, when will administration start working collaboratively on the changes to the grievance policy as directed by the board at the last school board meeting? We have not started meeting yet, but I noticed that in the model school board policies that are being presented tonight for you to look at, there's a grievance policy. And our proposal has not been addressed yet. The last concern, and I almost hesitate to bring this one up because I know Dr. Wright's going to think I'm doing it on purpose, but I'm not. I'm not even the one who brought it. There was a concern about salaried workers and their salaries being prorated, and what it says basically is that salaried workers are typically paid a fixed income each pay date. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the employer must pay the salaried worker a full salary regardless of the number of days or hours worked. I promise I didn't bring it. But some exceptions apply. So the concern was, in a new hire or termination case, or when an employee takes more benefit days than allowed, the employer may prorate or dock pay. And their point was the calculation of the employee's daily salary rate, and they had questions about how all that is calculated. And that's probably an HR question, or it might be a Kelsey question, one of the two. So, those are the concerns as far as the meeting, the first meeting. An additional concern tonight is the model policies that you have been presented to look at. The first policy that you have been presented with tonight is about the membership of the PPC. And it proposes that the PPC committee will be 5 members. If you recall, how we ended up with 1 member from each building was that the state board made us do it. Originally, we had, I think, 8 members, and we had already planned the election and everything, and then the state board stepped in and said no, because all of those members were union folks. And they said, nope, you're going to have a person from every building.
You guys had had the election.
We had already had the election. Okay, that's true, we did. And so then the state board stepped in and said, oh no, you're going to have a member from every building. Well, we had building reps at every building too, so we just elected them. However, we're no longer under state control, which means that the Personnel Policy Committee decides how many members they're going to have. They also decide how long they're going to serve, and they also appoint members to schools that don't have representatives. None of that is the purview of the board. However, in this proposed policy, all of that is listed here as a board policy. The law says minimum of 5. The PPC voted to keep the number of members that we currently have, which is a member from every site. We could have gone to 5 members or 8 members then, but the majority vote was to keep it like it was. I think that, first of all, let me say, I'm disappointed that this was not collaborative work, because the board policies that are in place now were collaborative, the ones that deal with certified staff. I know that because I'm the collaborator. They were based on the personnel policy manual that we were trying to get approved. Now, I understand the LRNS Act has come along, and so some things need to be updated. That is the point of the collaborative PPC subcommittee meetings with the district, is to bring it in line with the new law. Some of these board policies are in direct conflict with the personnel policy manual. Some of these are based on things that we don't even do in Little Rock School District. One of my concerns is that, or one of our concerns is that it takes away the whole RIF policy that, just for a little history lesson, somewhere around 30 people worked on from both sides of the table for I don't even know how many days and hours. It was a collaborative policy that was developed. I don't think we strike out all of that work. I think we look at it and decide what needs to be fixed. I'm concerned that the model policy was not collaborative, first of all, and does not take into account things like national boards. What the new law says is that you can't base it on seniority. You can't weight seniority the most when we're calling an employee, when hiring or firing an employee, any of that. Every block in this RIF policy is weighted equally. They're all worth 25 points. We did that on purpose because the concern at the time was about seniority. That's where collaboration comes in. When we collaborate, we talk about these things. We work together to develop policies. And I understand that these are going to be board policies. I get that, but they're based on personnel policies. A lot of these things are in our personnel policy book now. There's a whole new PD policy thing here. And when I looked through it, I just wondered if it aligns with what we do in Little Rock School District, because we have a whole professional development department. I don't know that it does. When I look at, there's a policy proposal that says the superintendent shall create procedures establishing the process the superintendent will use before making any decisions regarding the hiring or placement of a principal to consult with teachers employed at the school where the principal would be assigned. We had a board policy that had the rules for that. And it was deleted when we went to model school board policies. So it's in the archive somewhere, and it said that you had to have a committee of school personnel in order to place a principal. So it seems to me that we're doing some things that we've already done and gotten rid of, which there was a lot of issues. If you remember, there were a lot of questions about why we're just throwing out all the old board policies and bringing in these model school board policies that don't apply to Little Rock School District. Again, the grievance policy, you have a proposal that has just been sitting. It took it 5 months before it was even placed on the board agenda after it was given to the school district. You directed the administration and the Personnel Policy Committee to work collaboratively on that policy. We have not met yet about that. But here's a whole new one proposed. That's kind of a slap in the face to the Personnel Policy Committee. Because we didn't have any input in this. I asked to see them. They were sent to me Friday evening, but they were already on the board agenda. That's a little disingenuous. I'm not going to get into family medical leave because I know there are new rules concerning the parental part of that. It was my understanding that it was supposed to be paid parental leave, but maybe I'm confused on that. Allie, you can help me probably.
State's only paying half of it if districts match the other half, I believe.
Okay. Well, I read this and I don't see where the district's paying any of it other than what's already your leave. Basically, it says it's unpaid unless you have leave. Unless I'm misunderstanding, and maybe I am, because I'm not a lawyer. But it just seems to me that maybe we should have talked about it before some of these policies. Now, you know, if it's straight school board policy, that's a whole different ballgame. But if it affects personnel policy and it has to do with things that are already in existence in personnel policy, there should have been a conversation. In my mind, that's what collaboration is. And when you are truly in the spirit of collaboration, you collaborate on everything. You don't pick and choose what you want to get through, and that's what you don't collaborate on, and what you are flexible about, that's what you collaborate on. So, that's my 2 cents tonight. And I'm smiling for Mr. Mason, because he likes smiles. I know that. I really am pleased with the work that we have been able to accomplish collaboratively. And I recognize that we have a lot of new administration members, including Dr. Wright. And maybe that's not the way they did things, you know, in their old districts. I genuinely hope, even if I'm not here, and I'm not part of it, that the collaboration continues, because that is what is in the best interest of our students. Because teachers' learning conditions, as I've said before, teachers' teaching conditions, working conditions, are students' learning conditions. And it makes a difference when our voices are valued and appreciated. Thank you all so much. I hope I don't see you next month. Good luck with all of you. And happy summer. Can I just add one little celebration that you didn't have, Dr. Wright?
Sure.
This one's amazing. So, actually there's 2. Actually, I challenged my students at the beginning of this year to read 100 books. For some schools, 100 books is not a lot. Okay? For Terry Elementary, it's a huge accomplishment. And right now, I have 14 kids that have read 100 books, which is amazing. And I'm buying lunch for 60 next week that have read, buying lunch for 30 that have read 60 books. You're invited, Dr. Wright,
You know what I'm getting ready to say?
to come see me. And my students who are good readers. The way that it works is for every 10 books they read, they get a prize. And so it was little increments. And I created a form. They turn in the books they read. They have to give me 2 sentences about their favorite part, so I know they really read it, because we don't have AR, so they can't take a test. So they tell me 2 sentences about their favorite part of the book. They tell me who their favorite character is. That's how I know that they read it. They come see me, and I punch their cards, and they get prizes, and that's how they've reached 100. So next week we're having a super reader, 100 reader party. They'll get some super reader swag. They'll go in the Hall of Fame, all these things. It's just amazing to me that I actually had students do that. And they followed through and they read 100 books. I'm so proud of them. And I know it's going to make a difference in their lives. Test scores, maybe it will, maybe it won't, depends on the day they take the test. But they're reading, and that's what I do. I grow readers. The other one is pretty amazing too. We have a kindergartner who won a writing contest. Now, let me just say, a kindergartner won a writing contest, and I'm sure it'll be celebrated at the superintendent's citation, probably
September.
not till September.
We're done.
We're still in school June 1st? Well, you need to come out and see him. His name's Solomon, and he's pretty special because he wrote an essay. Yeah, kindergarten. So I'll send you the details in an email, but big celebrations going on at Terry. And I'm going to create an invitation that's like this big, and I'm going to bring it down here to Dr. Wright's office. And it's going to say, you're invited to stop by Terry anytime you're in the vicinity. Because he says, I didn't get an invitation.
A calendar invite will suffice.
No, you challenged me now. See, you got to get an invitation. So, thank y'all. Appreciate all the work you do. It's been a long year. We're almost to the end. Y'all have to meet all summer, though. Have a good night.
Ms. Gordon, before you leave, I do want to say to you and all of the members of the PPC, I'm never going to be one to make excuses for anything, but I will say it was definitely not our intention to bypass the PPC with these policies. There's just a lot happening right now, and conflated with the policies that we have to get in place by July 31st, plus the regular typical personnel policy procedure that we typically used. I wasn't sure exactly how we were going to tackle this and what we were going to do, and so we had some discussions. We had some discussions last week in our work session about that, and I also know that we just started with the PPC group working on the PPM revisions, and a lot of these conflate and overlap, and so it looks like we're trying to bypass the PPC. That is definitely not the case, even if that's what's occurring. That was never ever the intention. We're just dealing with quite a bit of end of the school year activities, plus the impact of learns. It has just confused a lot of policies and procedures that we typically would do, which is why it looks like we're just trying to bypass the PPC. That is definitely not the case, and so I just want to make that acknowledgement. Even the policies that are placed on the board today, these were supposed to be the policies that are aligned to all of the laws that were recently changed, that we wanted to give the board an opportunity to look at and to weigh in on. And I know some of them overlap with personnel policy. Some of them are personnel policy procedures, some of them are not. And so it's just a muddied process right now. We're just trying to get to the finish line as quick as we can. And so that's not an excuse, it's just an acknowledgement of the way of why things happened the way that they did.
And I understand that, and I appreciate your acknowledgement. Slow and steady sometimes is better than let's get it done. So maybe what we need to do is slow down and talk to each other.
In some cases, we don't have time to slow down because some of these have to be in place by the 31st.
I'm a phone call away. I'm a phone call away, and I'm down here, like I said, I was down here every day last week for meetings, down here this week for meetings. Be down here Monday for a meeting, and the week after I'll be down here for meetings. All you got to do, all that has to happen is a phone call. And if it's not me, there's other PPC members, you know, Lakeitha will be back at some point, and I know June 31st looms large on the horizon. But we also have to be careful, I think, when we're developing policies, because we don't want to have policies that are conflicting and that we have to go back and redo. You know, and this law, we all know, is a huge law, and there are lots of questions about it. There are even questions about whether it's a constitutional law. Be those as what they are, we still probably are going to have to abide by it by July 31st. So I understand. It seems like it's a big deal because y'all only meet once a month or twice a month for agenda, but you only meet to vote once a month. So when you have special meetings and work sessions and all those things, so I get the urgency. I just don't want to rush and mess it up, I guess is what I'm saying. I appreciate what you're saying, Dr. Wright. Thank you.
All right. Anyone representing the Principals Roundtable? No one? So we'll move on to our consent agenda items. Board members, have you had an opportunity to read the consent agenda items? What is your pleasure on
I'm happy to move that the LRSD School Board approve the consent agenda items in our packet as follows: personnel changes, purchasing reports, donation of property, the minutes from the April 2023 meetings.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any unreadiness, any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh, you had a
Question?
question? Joyce had a
Director,
question.
Director Hunter?
No, I thought Joyce had one.
No question. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 6.1.
Yep. And I don't know if this is possible, so I'm just going to ask if Eric or the board, if we could possibly take 6.1, the extending of the elementary school day, the joint proposal, and 9.1, which is the approval of the employee contract, if we can, because they're interrelated, if we can take both of them at the same time.
Board members, is that okay that we take both of those at the same time or separate them?
As long as it's clear what we are voting on, like the motion at the end has to be clear, then I think that it's probably fine to do.
There's a joint motion written at the bottom of your page that combines both. At the back of the it's highlighted.
So,
We're talking 6.1 and 9.1.
okay. So I guess there was pre-conversation about it to combine them since it's on the, highlighted on here.
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I'll say I was one of the people at the last meeting that really had concerns about this and raised it. What I said at that meeting and left you with was work with the PPC, bring us something that everybody can agree to, that the PPC, you know, considers a fair way to do this and treat our employees fairly. We have a joint proposal now that has been overwhelmingly passed by the PPC, so I will support it since it was passed and supported by the PPC.
Director Adams?
Yeah, I'd like to express appreciation to Dr. Wright, the administrative team, the PPC, and all those who worked to get to that place. And this is a really big deal for us at the district. It'll be a big deal for our students. It's a big deal for all our staff. It affects lots and lots of people. But to come to a place where we have a joint proposal is really commendable. And so thank you for that. And I'd be glad to make this combined motion, because it makes sense to me, to move that the LRSD board approve both the revised 2023-24 employee contract template and the joint administrative PPC proposal to extend the elementary and secondary school day to add direct instruction of science and social studies in the elementary school day.
Second the motion.
It's been moved by Director Adams and second by Director Wesley that we combine, we both revised the 2023-24 employee contract template and joint administrative PPC proposal to extend the elementary and secondary school day to add direct instruction of science and social studies to the elementary school day. All those in favor? Any questions? Any unreadness?
I have a question. It's not an unreadiness, because I did go back and I looked at the meeting from last week, so I understand kind of what happened and how things kind of got crossed, and I understand what Director Nolan was saying around the treatment and just making sure things are in line. My question is, with the employee contract template, so everybody is in line with that, with that template? That's my only question.
Yes, we made revisions to it.
Okay, all right, so, okay.
All right. All those in favor of the motion by Director Adams and second by Director Wesley, say aye.
Aye.
All opposers? The motion carries.
And two, right, for the, I don't know about you guys, but my email boxes is like, was full with a lot of emails. So maybe the word haven't gotten out about the agreement yet from some educators. That's all it's just a statement that I was making.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the financial operations. Chief Deputies.
Oh, he is here. I was looking at Kevin. I was like, are you doing the financials? I didn't know if, that's what I was, well, it wasn't sign language.
Yes, sir, we hear you. It's a little low, little low.
We cannot hear you.
You may have to turn me up.
Oh, they're saying in the room that you have to turn yourself up.
I'm yelling at the computer.
I'm sorry, I was laughing. What did you say?
I'm yelling at the computer now, so.
Oh, are you?
Okay.
There is nothing we can do internally? He's yelling. Okay. In the room, they're saying that you need to use maybe a headset, or maybe just call it in. If there's this is Zoom, right? Yeah, or maybe just call it in and.
Is that better?
Nope.
So call Ms. Smith, and she'll put you on speaker.
And that's Pamela Smith, if you was wondering.
None other.
None other.
Go ahead, Mr. Bailey.
All right, can y'all hear me now?
Sure.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, before you should have, are y'all able to see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're gonna go over the board financial update here. So, it's typically the same things right here as far as overview of what's actually included here. So we'll start off with the revenue status report. On our revenues, now everything looks to be very good. You can see everything is green now. The property tax year account, this is the last one we were typically able to receive in. we received 36.5 million in April. When I get to the actual report, we're still lacking about 27 million, which I'm expecting to receive all of that. So it seems like we are going to be.
You need to, the Chief Deputy, you need to move your slides. Your slides are not
Okay. It's saying
in
it's
sync
really
with your,
Guess everything is acting crazy. I mean, everything was going well at first. Zoom is trying to reconnect on me, so. I apologize.
I was trying to beat Mr. Adams' record.
All right.
I'm behind you.
One second.
To give the record for the longest meeting.
All right. Is everything moving now?
No, we do not. I think that was the first.
Are we moving now? Can y'all
No,
hear me?
we still don't have your slide presentation.
See, let me stop the share and reshare it again.
Okay.
We may have to pause it for next month. Not sure. Maybe having some issues with internet connections.
Okay.
Can we do that? Yeah, we can.
But the overall report is that we're doing well. We're scheduled to come in
Wait,
at what we actually projected.
Chief Deputy,
Not above.
hold on just a second.
Okay.
I'll share his screen, his slides on his behalf. He'll just need to
Yes.
tell me to advance.
Okay.
All right.
So, did you hear that? Ms. Smith, Ms. Pamela Smith says she'll share your presentation on your behalf, on her
Okay.
your
That'll work.
behalf. Yes.
It's nothing major on here, so you all actually have it as far as your board agenda and part of the package there. But basically, our revenue is coming in above what we actually projected. We have the last couple of months here, May and June. We expect to receive 100% of what we actually projected, if not a little bit more. So we should be in good shape as far as our expenditures. All the expenditures seem to be tracking well. Salaries and benefits are still a little bit under what we actually budgeted based on some of the vacancies we have out there. We did have to spend a little bit more, some went on overtime and some on some supplemental like substitute services, but otherwise everything is coming in as expected. Not sure if Ms. Smith has it on the screen yet or not.
No, we're still waiting on,
Just talk on.
Okay.
That's okay, go ahead. Here it comes.
All right. So as far as our, and I'll just talk through these things as well. Our fund balance, the operating fund balance right now is 59 million. Of course, we
Go back
still
up.
have additional expenditures to come out of that. Capital improvement fund balance, you can see is decreasing from that 203 that we initially started with down to 141. I know Mr. Yarber is in the room as well, so we have some other projects that's going to kind of liquidate that a little bit
Ms.
more
Smith,
as well.
can you come back
Federal
down?
fund
He's still
balance
talking on
is
that.
still positive. We've been getting reimbursements in on time, and child nutrition is still very healthy, 4.2 billion. So we hadn't had to supplement anything in child nutrition in a while, so we're in very good shape. We'll scroll down to the top. I'll just show you this. So everything you see on the revenue part is negative. You'll scroll down just a little bit, Ms. Smith, is good for revenue. 27 or almost 28 million, that's what we're still expecting to come in based on what we projected. So right now we feel very, very good about actually getting 100% of that, if not more. So we'll be in good shape. So and everything else is just detailed. I know there was a comment earlier about the national board as well. So something that we've struggled with the last 2 years is actually getting meal applications in after the pandemic. So what the state actually did this year was actually hold every district harmless from reducing any money from ESA. We have two portions of money. The district actually pays $3,000 for national board. That's the district contribution. The state actually has a calculation that they actually previously, I guess, previous maybe 4 years ago, they actually paid directly to teachers that had national board certifications. Audit finding require them to actually channel that money through the district. So it's really pass-through money to the districts to pay on behalf of the state. It's separate from the 3,000 we pay. So I hope that this was a base year for us. We collected more applications in, and we may have to do another base year on next year. So hopefully we won't experience that. But from the district perspective, that's a state funded piece versus what we actually pay. So our 3,000, we've actually paid 100% of it. So,
Mr. Bailey, could you pause there? Is the state funding that's coming in less than what the National Board Certified Teachers expected because we only hit 69% on those applications?
yeah, they actually, it cuts down from 10,000 to 5,000 if you not consider the high poverty district. So that was determined based on your 21-22 school year. But the state actually qualifies those that receive their money. I mean, we wait on the final list from the state. Sometimes we have the HR will work with the state that makes sure we have everybody included. But as far as the calculation and actual funding, that source of payment is directly from the Department of Education.
Mr. Bailey, can I ask a clarifying question? I just want to make sure. Did you say that the 69% that they used was based on the 21-22 school year?
Yes, sir. It's always a year behind. So all our funding based on freedom reduces a year behind. Even Title I, our enhanced student achievement funding, so it's based on the previous year. So for next year's funding, they'll be using this year as far as our percent. So I think our percent this year was about 72%.
Okay. So we were above the 70% this year.
I mean, parents have gotten used to not having to fill out applications to get free meals, especially during the pandemic. So, I mean, we did a big push. Actually, we talked about it in a couple of board meetings, I think, it's been last year this time now. So, to really push parents. So, we got out there, we got to get schools to really push, especially secondary. So, secondary typically been the place where we just hadn't been able to connect as well. So we're still pushing to get those up there. So because we want to get those percentages up as high as possible because it affects funding all across the board. So
yeah. So
but we can't make anybody fill out the application, but we can really encourage them.
So my question, kind of following up on what Ms. Gordon asked about earlier, I understand that you're saying that the district has paid 100% of the $3,000 that we normally pay. The state is only paying about half of what those teachers would normally expect because we only hit 69%. She was asking for us to explore the district picking up that other half so that those teachers would not be left with a shortfall from what they were expecting to receive. It sounds like this is a one-year issue since we use numbers that are a year behind and we hit over 70% for this next year. So this would just be a this year issue. So
yeah, I really can't speak on behalf of the state because I don't know what the plan is for National Board Certified Teacher payments. So Little Rock has always been pretty aggressive on payment because a lot of districts don't pay for the length of time we actually pay for our contribution, like for the 3,000. They may only do 2,000. They may only do it for the first 3 or 6 years. So when we did a research on that in several years back, but I can't really speak on behalf of the state. I'm not sure what, regs may change over the next year. We have a lot of changes going on, but if we're classified as a high poverty and everything else stays the same, they would qualify for additional monies.
Well, we're talking about the shortfall for this year.
Yeah, the shortfall for this year, I would be very careful on obligating the district to anything else in light of the LRSD Act and everything else that we have going on right now, because we're down 600 students as compared to last year. So,
I mean, at this point, there's no action item or motion. It was just having y'all look at the numbers and figure out what that looks like or would look like. Yeah. All right, continue.
So that concludes my actual report as far as this section. And I don't know if Ms. Smith is able to pull. I think I may pause. If y'all don't mind maybe pulling the action item off for the actual audit. Because I really need to probably run through mine more so to really show you where it's at. My computer's not letting me connect right now.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need to do an action item on your April budget?
You would, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's attached to your agenda, but only thing I would tell you on the audit, go ahead and review it, so we'll be ready to take action in June.
Okay.
And
So-
I'll explain it fully there, so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we need to take action on the April budget.
I move, go ahead.
I move that the LRSD School Board accept the April 2023 Board Financial Reports as submitted.
Did I hear a second from Director Hatter? Okay.
I'm fine,
Okay.
yes.
It's been moved by Director Johnson, second by Director Hatter, to accept the April budget for April 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposers, motion carries. So we're going to bypass the legislative audit report?
Yes, sir, if y'all
Okay.
don't mind.
That's fine. We'll move on to,
So I know we have two other things, and have Mr. Yarborough there as well, maintenance operations, so.
oh,
if
he
you don't
could
mind,
have, he
Mr.
could have
Yarborough,
done the budget for you.
Come up front.
Good evening.
Hey, Mr. Yarborough.
So we're here today to discuss a couple of projects that we've got that we went out for competitive bids for. One of those projects that we're asking you to consider this evening is for us to add a loop drive to Chico Elementary. Most of you are probably aware of the existing traffic problems at Chico Elementary. They've been there for some years now, and it just continues to get worse. So we've done some work on the entrance with putting a traffic signal in, and the city also has done some street improvements out in front of the campus. So we put a project together and we sent it out for competitive bids, and I think you guys have that information in your packet. So I believe that project is valued at just over $1 million. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I do.
Go ahead. Director.
And so, the circular, is it gonna be a circular driveway, or tell me?
It's a
give me an
one-way
again.
drive that will, the stacking will start south, on the south end of the campus. It will cut into Chico Road, and it
Okay.
will loop all the way around to the west and back into the existing parking lot over by the cafeteria.
Oh, so it will loop around the back of the building?
Around the entire property, yes, ma'am. And it'll be a two-lane, one-way drive.
Okay, that's good, because that's a huge safety issue out there.
It is. We've done some work and we've relieved some of that pressure, but we believe this will really seal it up for us.
Good deal.
All right. Any other questions, directors?
The standard bid process.
Yes, ma'am. We just sent it out for an RFP, competitive bidding, and we had 2 responders.
So it'll be ready for September?
Yes, ma'am. If you're gracious enough to approve it this evening, we'll get started on it immediately following classes in June.
And oh, okay, I read it. It's Baldwin and Shaw.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move that the Little Rock School Board approve the administration's request to award the Chico project to Baldwin and Shell for an amount of $1,022,498.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Johnson, second by Director Wilson, to approve the bid for the Chico Elementary site circle drive.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Yarborough. Next thing.
The second project that we're presenting for this evening is resurfacing the bus parking at our first student property. We've been challenged there for a number of years now, and obviously the condition of the pavement gets worse. It's a pretty wet area. That area of town is pretty wet, especially just west of 30. So we've also got some drainage swells that go through the middle of the property, so we're addressing stormwater as well. So we, again, sent it out for competitive bidding through an RFP, and we only got one responder on this one. However, that one responder is a prime bidder on such type work, as far as site concrete and asphalt is concerned. So we feel confident that it's a reputable contractor and got a good number. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And
It's
I'm
just-
sorry, I failed to mention the value of the project came in
Oh, I
at
see it.
2.6. Yes, ma'am.
It's just straight paving?
There's some concrete and asphalt, and
Okay.
we will be doing some curb and guttering as well.
Okay.
And then you spoke about the drain.
Yes,
What
ma'am,
did-
we'll be addressing stormwater,
Stormwater.
trying to concentrate that and get it out where it needs to go. We've got some areas where it just sits, ponds, and that's because the weight of the buses depress the concrete of the asphalt, and it doesn't have any way to get out. It has to dry up, and it's a pretty futile
It's
situation.
Push Creek area.
I'm sorry?
Push Creek area.
Yes, sir, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes,
Are
ma'am.
there any homes over there?
No.
No,
No?
ma'am, it's
Okay.
mostly industrial area. Yes,
Got
ma'am,
it.
it's just north of 65th Street.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah, okay. I was thinking over here in the.
Oh, no, ma'am, you're thinking about 21st Street.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My last question is, are we, with these large bids, is there anything in the contract that, speaks to, making sure that, local individuals are able to work on the site, and to like the minority bids on these larger contracts, because typically we'll see that on like the minority bidders getting the lower contracts, and but then with these larger contracts, outside of having, you know, placement, right, you put a woman there, or you know, for looks, is the district still committed to making sure that like we are doing a better job? I think right now we're at like maybe under 7%. I'm not quite sure exactly how much, but I know the percentage is pretty low.
Yes, ma'am.
About how
So
many
some of the documents in your packet, I
minorities.
believe, speaks to, we actually reached out, I believe there were 24 minority contractors, made it available for them to bid on, and we got 0 responses. And those are bidders that we have on file, that we know are active companies. We did reach out. I don't remember the number of the women-owned businesses as well, but we didn't get any responses from those either. Now, we do encourage our contractors on larger projects to help us with that reporting and that percentage through their subcontractors. So it really is just a matter of that subcontractor being able to provide an insurance and bonding for the work. And sometimes, depending on the nature of the scope of work on the project, sometimes the larger GCs will help them with that. So I'm not real sure exactly how they go about that, but so they try to help them insure and bond those projects.
Okay, and my last question is, going back to another larger bid we had in the past, there was a level of difficulty getting the bid, right? Getting the proposal. And so it created barriers for people who really wanted to bid on that project. So just so I could finish, have those concerns that I raised before been addressed? Because, you know, because a lot of people depend on the district, you know, for their livelihood, not only from our staff, but also with contractors. And there's also valid contractors who really want to do business with the district, but then they find that it's hard. So have those barriers been removed, exactly like the ones that we experience with our transportation contractor and people wanting to get information on it?
So we are constantly encouraging participation. There are some, I wouldn't call them barriers. I think there are some challenges. And we try to help them as best we can to try to close that gap. I will tell you that in general, right now, the market is such that it's tough to even get bids from anybody at this point. And I think the fact that we only got one bid on this project, I think speaks to that. And that's just in general, it's not just this project. We are just really challenged right now with even getting a number from somebody that will hold for more than a week. It's just a tough market right now, and we're still suffering from some of the fallout of COVID, and whether it's the manufacturing, the shipping, the actual labor force. I mean, there's a lot of factors involved, so all of that affects schedule and price and availability of contractors.
And just to be clear, I'm not talking about the availability of the pool of candidates. I'm talking about the access to see the bid, the access to pull the RFP, the access, because like that is what the issues were before. It was getting access and having to wait on someone to send them something that was out of the office. And so making sure that the access for them to know that there's a bid without having to sign up on Wave Iron or whatever we're
Iron
using.
Wave, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but then for it to be clear, right when they click on it without having to do all those things.
Yeah,
because
no,
that
I
too
can't
serves.
really.
To that. So all our bids actually posted online. We actually advertise in the paper. Down at Wave actually gives us some accountability on seeing who all received the bids, who all responded back to the bids before without having to, go through any other paperwork. So it's electronically. So we do have somebody at procurement, which is Jan Burrell, that reaches out to our minority vendors and women business and just new businesses as well. So we encourage everybody to register on our site. So if bids are actually posted, they get notified. So we are trying to solicit those. So one thing you want to think about as well, a lot of contractors may not be bidding on this because of other work, but we also have performance bonds that are included on this type of work. So you don't want to take a job that you may not be able to perform and have liquidated damages and have to utilize performance bonds. So I think contractors are being very careful right now on what they're bidding on based on the labor market. So, but we are continuing to push for minority and women business enterprise to bid on our projects. So if it's a project that's too big, hopefully, usually these contractors are using some subs that are minority and women business as well. So we'll try to get that report out as well. It's just a hard market right now, but we're taking any barriers down. So hopefully there won't be any barriers. The transportation was a little bit different because we used a third-party consultant because that wasn't our expertise. But we did advertise out there, but there was some pre-planning and different bid work that we wanted to make sure they understood because it was a comprehensive proposal that had to be submitted. But typically the things that you're looking at right now, they're bids and not really RFPs. So.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions regarding? Questions. So the Redstone is doing the paving.
Yes, sir.
Are they doing the striping also?
They're doing all of it.
Okay.
Now I don't know what the breakdown on that is, but this is kind of their niche. This is a niche market for them. So I'm not positive that it's somebody on their staff actually striping the parking lot, but certainly we can explore that and see what that looks like.
Okay.
I just have a question. You may have already answered this, but who's gonna do the drainage? Because basically that area is kind of swampy.
Yes, ma'am.
Near Fush Creek.
Yes, ma'am.
So you all are going to have drainage underneath the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay.
ideal. That way we don't run the risk of any erosion or any breakdown of the surface. Yes, ma'am.
Sinkholes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's the reason why this contract is so much, because we are doing a comprehensive redo of that. We've done some patchwork in the past, maybe $350,000 here, maybe $500,000 there, but it's time to totally redo it. It's almost become like an obstacle course driving out there now. So we want to take that out the way. So it's long overdue.
That's a swampy area.
All right. Any other questions? Chair, entertain a motion.
I move that the LRSD School Board approve the administration's request to award the LRSD Transportation Facility Project to Redstone Construction Group for the amount of $2,600,000.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Wilson, second by Director Johnson, to approve the pavement resurfacing of for the our LRSD transportation facility. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Garber.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
So, next on the agenda, we have our 9.2, which is revisions to Section 3, licensed personnel. Attorney Walker, we've already done that.
Good evening.
Number 8.
So we're going to talk about Section 3 and Section 8. As Dr. Wright said earlier, timing was a bit of a factor and kind of how this came about. We converted to the model policies in 2017. And then a couple times a year, we get updated revisions, which we look at, talk about, and then make a decision on whether or not to try to adopt them. And this particular time, it came not last week, but the week before, like in the middle of the week. And so in the midst of everything else kind of going on, we incorporated them into a draft document, met with Human Resources Department and talked about some of these, and I'll get into that here shortly. And then issued it to for y'all's consideration, and then sent it to the PPC, which probably should have happened sooner. And I can acknowledge that from talking to Ms. Gordon tonight. My thought, however, was we would still continue to be talking about this before the actual final approval of the policy in June. So I want to mention, Ms. Gordon is correct when we were talking about 3.0, the licensed personnel policy is a recommended new policy, but it's specifically to comply with Act 781 from 2023. That should reflect what the PPC actually looks like. So that's something that we're gonna take some time to do. Ms. Gordon is also correct in regard to the grievance policy, that's 3.25. On motion last month's meeting, that we're gonna go and talk about that, and that actually does still need to happen as well. So, with the exception of those, I wanna talk more about the others. The RIF policy. So the RIF policy that exists right now, a couple things about it. One, it's the subject of 4 different lawsuits that are active in the district right now. It is not consistent with the Section 8 RIF policy, which is the model policy. So when talking to the Human Resources Department, the idea was for the policies to be matching, and this is one that needs to comply with the LRSD Act. And we thought using the model policy would be, I guess, a more efficient way to comply with the LRSD Act than what we had. We can still continue to talk about that, but that is one that removes some of the indicators like tenure and that kind of thing from the way that the policy was written before. Also, there's an Act 780, 780 of 2023 that mentions that RIFs should be based on merit, ability, attendance, performance, and effectiveness, more so than seniority, tenure, and that kind of thing.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a little confused about what we are potentially voting on tonight. Are we voting to send something to the PPC to consider, or are we I don't understand.
Yes, so what I'm asking ultimately, and I was gonna go through all of it and then ask at the end,
Okay.
but I can do that now. With the exception of 3.0, which is the PPC policy, and the exception of the grievance policy, I was gonna ask for everything else to be considered a board proposal to go to the PPC for 10 days for potential consideration. Now, in the meantime, if there's the work that Ms. Gordon has talked about doing, it happens, and then something else that is compliant with the LRSD Act and everything comes forward as another proposal, then we can deal with that or vote on that versus the board proposal. But the challenge that I had was wanting to get something in front of the board in time, in case, you know, things necessarily work out. We want to be fully compliant with the LEARNS Act before the June 30th, before the new fiscal year. So that was the thinking on wanting the board proposal for everything except for the two things I just mentioned. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. With the RIF policy, it doesn't seem quite fair.
Okay.
You know, her policies don't go into effect until June 30th. So why can't we use what we have now as far as the RIF is concerned?
Well,
and then after June 30th, we can comply with her, you know.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But even if you do vote for it, it won't go into effect until
July 1st.
till July.
Okay.
So what's in effect now is the current rate policy.
But okay, if you know you're gonna get RIF in June, could they go ahead and use the same policy that we've had in the past? Instead of having to, oh, okay, we're gonna wait, but see, there's a time difference there. There's about a 30-day time difference. And personally, there's so much of that LEARNS policy that I just don't agree with. But that is like merit pay. Cause, I mean, for instance, you have this this complicated system where you have to go and you have to get this point, that point, that point, instead of seniority, okay? And that's what it's gonna look like after, July 1. My question is, can you still go by the old policy in June? And then when, July 1 happens, if after that point, they can be, you can go by her policy.
The answer to your question is yes. The
So if
policy as
some-
it stands now will be policy until.
Well, okay,
until
so
June.
if you're gonna have some people that you know gonna get rid you ought to give, it seems like to me, you ought to be able to give them the opportunity to go under this policy is currently here. Now, after July the 1st, that policy I don't agree with, but there's law for now. Because I know there are gonna be lawsuits. But if you know they're gonna be ripped in June, can you go ahead and assign them? That might,
Well, I think I can say, to my knowledge, there's not a RIF or anything like that planned anytime soon,
Well,
so.
and Mr. Walker, this may help, wasn't there a deadline in May for contract non-renewals to have to go out, and that's under the current
Yes, that's
law?
under the current-
The
yes, yes,
teacher
yes.
fair dismissal is still in place for anyone who received a contract non-renewal. I don't know if there was anyone, but I'm just saying. But, so what you're talking about, what your concern is, those would have already had to go out.
Yes, they would have had to go out, and they're under current law as it's, as it's currently established, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
but still none have gone out, is that what you're saying?
I don't know that he would.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that
Yeah,
question.
that's-
I don't know the answer to that question.
Is that the case? Okay.
So, Mr. Walker,
Yes.
if, I'm just trying to understand the process, whatever gets voted on tonight would be a vote simply to send it to the PPC. They would have to address it somehow. There would need to be a future vote from the board,
Yes.
right? This is not final.
That's
tonight,
correct. That's correct. Yes, absolutely.
And while we're working with the PPC on the PPM, anything that gets worked out that you guys vote in terms of a proposal to send to them would just be null and void anyway.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Director Adams, you had a question?
And who did you,
Yeah, Director Adams, he raised his hand. Okay.
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Walker, the deadline for these policy changes, is it correct to understand that the deadline for these policy changes, because these are mandated changes from the legislature, is to have those in place before July 1, is that correct?
Yes. If it's after July 1, it would require a vote of the entire staff.
Okay.
So it can be done after July 3rd, after July 1, but it's a vote of the entire certified staff.
Can I clarify something?
Yes, sir.
Now, some things, in order for us to get the funding for these raises, have to be done by July 1st. We can't wait to do that after the fact. And some of those are included in what we see today, but not all.
Okay.
There are some that we have to,
And there's still going to be plenty more policies for you at the work session, sections 1, section 4, section 5, section 6, section 7.
So to change things later would be a much more onerous and difficult process, and to change some things later, we would risk, or we may lose necessary funding from the state. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a comment in regard to that I appreciate the comments earlier from Ms. Gordon and others that collaboration is ideal. I feel it makes sense to me that we are in a spot where we don't have the opportunity for the length of time for collaboration that we would like. In my religious tradition, we talk about being reformed and always reforming. I think our policies are revised and always revising, and I think that the reality is we may, over time, be able to come back and tweak something, as long as we don't put ourselves out of the bounds of the law requirements. You know, hopefully there'll be some changes that might be more clear that we could do in this process of sending to the PPC and coming back. There's time for some collaboration, but I think it doesn't sound to me like it's reasonable to expect the kind of ideal collaboration that we would want, because there's just not time to be allowed. And frankly, when I read all these policies, you know, there are some that I really disagree with, but the state requires. Right. For instance, how we treat our transgender students. And yet, because we are bound by the law and we don't want to risk harming our district by losing that funding, I will support these changes, even though I disagree with some of them, because it's a legal issue and it's because I don't want to harm our district and the services we can provide to our students. So I would.
Director Header?
Go ahead. Yes.
Were you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm not trying to repeat anything I already heard that I was going to say, but there is no but, because I am. But what I heard earlier through the conversation is that a vote's coming on these policies, and they're going to the PPC to have
a vote to adopt it as a proposal.
Yes, to go to
the PPC.
To go to the PPC, and then it's coming back to us for any type of revisions or whatever we're gonna.
It will come back to you for action.
Right, but then
yes.
We still have the privy to make revisions to it if we wanted to. The issue is the timing.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just
Yes,
trying
yes,
to
yes.
wade through all of what I heard.
Yes.
So, the Arkansas Learns Act, it is a interesting pot of gumbo that most Southerners probably wouldn't eat, right? So, I think that and everybody who eat gumbo know it's all about that roux. So,
Amen. Nikki,
so,
one of the legislators in session used a food metaphor, and he said if part of it's poison, you don't really want to eat any of it, right? So there you go.
Gosh, I wish I would have thought of I would have repeated that legislator. But there are things that are very concerning in this bill, because we don't want to, let's just say it, we don't want to discriminate against any of our children or our staff, regardless of any isms or any ideologies or religious or whatever the situation is. I am, and you're right, this is a legal issue. And some of these policies are just our laws are gonna have to be hashed out and let a judge decide on what happens. I guess at this point, then we're ready. I mean, I'm ready just to make the vote for the proposal to send it to the PPC and for them to review. I do have a question about the grievance, but I guess that's going to get taken care of.
Right, well, I'm not even asking for the grievance to be a part of the proposal.
Oh, did you?
I didn't write it down that way.
I'm sorry.
I'm suggesting that we pull that one out and the 3.0, which is the
that was that
PPC
3.0.
policy. Probably still need to be worked on and submitted, hopefully in a collaborative way next month. But everything else, I would be asking for a board proposal.
Okay, and then we also know that there's a ton of other policies that we're going to have to revise.
Correct.
And then my question to that, and this is truly my last question on this, and because this is, like I said, some gumbo that, yeah. So my question is, after July 1st, you said that most of the staff would have to vote on it?
If it didn't pass by June 30th.
If it didn't
it would
pass.
require a vote of the entire staff.
Okay.
To pass, ultimately.
Oh, okay.
Or to be, I'm sorry, not to pass, to be applicable to the contracts that go into effect in the next fiscal year.
Interesting.
Okay.
And my question to that is, knowing that we have other policies that we will have to change that will happen after July 1st, would that be applicable? Because some of them is going to touch the personnel.
Right, but the plan is to have them all done before.
I see you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one more thing to say.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Director Galloway.
I attended a one-day workshop, and they were explaining or attempting to explain how this was going to apply to the Arkansas Learns Act to everybody, and how were they going to carry it out. Now, at that particular meeting, they had no idea, and that's what bothers me. Now, you make a law, but you don't have a way to enforce it, fund it, or whatever. Like, for instance, if they're going to give money to the charter schools, same thing that they give us, I asked a question, well, will they have to go by the same laws that the public schools have? They had no idea. So I guess what I'm saying is this is all a hodgepodge, I don't know. And you made these laws, but you have no way of implementing them. And if we go ahead and vote on something that they have, they don't even know how to implement it, really. And they're making it up as they go along. And that's the reason why I have a problem with the whole thing. Because they don't know. We wrote this law, but how are we gonna implement this? Am I correct? I mean, they have no idea. And so, like, changing things right now, I have issues with, because they don't know how they're gonna do it.
But they expect us to do it by the end of June, or we don't get the money.
Right.
And that's something.
So basically they're holding our funding and our ability to educate our kids hostage.
Hostage.
Oh, that's a good word.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Director Nolan.
Okay, so I have a question specifically on these policies. If we're pulling two of them and not voting on them as a proposal, what is the value of voting on these as a proposal? I'm just trying to understand the timing and the process. If the PPCs are gonna be working with administration and all of this is gonna come back to us for a vote down the road, what is the value of us voting on parts of it as a proposal rather than just sending all of it to the PPC by not voting on any of it and letting y'all just work it out and then make a proposal to us? Like a joint proposal to us.
The way that I'm thinking about it, and I'm certainly not the, my way doesn't have to be the highway, of course, and it's the board's pleasure, but my thinking on it is, if there is something that's a proposal that's voted on tonight, then it's still able to be passed. If there's no collaboration, and I don't think that that's gonna be the case, but if there's no collaboration, there's still a proposal for the board to vote on before June 30th. If, you know, I guess my thinking is, like I said, I don't think it would happen, but if for whatever reason, there's not a proposal by, at the next meeting, then if the board wanted to implement a policy and create a board proposal, that couldn't be done before June 30th. That's the thinking, my thinking.
But what are you proposing? Because they don't know.
The revisions to the policies,
Okay.
with the exception of 3.0 and 3.25.
Okay. Well, I have a concern about the RIF one. I understand that you're pulling the other two, but on the RIF, we have to change our policy to comply with words. I don't know that we have to change it to match the model policy.
You're correct. We do not have to change the model policy. We do not have to.
And that is where, by adopting this one as a proposal, I don't really want to put, just speaking for myself, I don't really want to put my stamp of approval on that if it goes beyond what we actually have to do to be able to comply with the law. And, unless there's a substantive argument for this policy is better than the policy that, we have. But my understanding of all of these changes is that we have to make certain changes to comply with the law. We have to do it within a short period of time. To the extent that that goes beyond that and is really, replacing a negotiated RIF policy with a model policy, that may be more than we have to do to comply with the law. And so, my preference on this would be not to adopt it as a proposal, simply to let administration and the PPC work on it collaboratively. You've already pulled two pieces. There's a third piece I've got a concern about. It just seems like maybe have them all worked on. But I do want to hear, really straightforward and directly from y'all, if that will potentially put us in a bind to not be able to pass this in time. I don't want to set us up for that, so I want to make sure that we're not.
But it seems like doing it that way, it creates this swing, or else this tennis match of us going back and forth, and we don't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
So is there, yes, okay, amen. So the most minimum, to meet the law, because we want to be in compliance with the law. And then I'm sure strategically that is what's going to happen, is that because we really haven't had time to even dive into these model policies just as an individual or probably even as a board. So I get it. And again, this is, I don't want to use the B word, but this is something. It puts us in an interesting spot, and it's not necessarily a good one.
Director Adams?
Yes, Mr. Walker, I think I was following things, but earlier, when you talked about pulling things, then I find myself confused. So let me tell you how I thought I understood it, and then if you could help me to clarify. So the way I thought it was is that although it was an ideal, that because of the short time frame we have, that we would consider sending this to the PPC as a board proposal. The PPC would have an opportunity to review, give us feedback. It would come back to us in June. We would take action on it in whatever form we would choose as a board to take action on, and we would be able to finish and have it in place for July. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so then tell me, how would it work for the parts that you're wanting to pull? What would be the process for that? Because that's what I don't understand, what the timing and the steps of that part would be.
Well, the two particular ones are not a part, or not updated in compliance with Act 237, which is the LRSD Act. 3.0 is in compliance with Act 781 of 2023, and 3.25, the grievance one, is in compliance with 745 of 2.23, and that deals with the way that the board can designate multiple grievances into a group grievance, and that's a statute that passed. But those two are not LRSD Act specific. That's why it was okay.
So does that mean we have a different timeline for those?
No, not really. I mean, they still have to be, if you want it to be, if we want it to be applicable to contracts for the next fiscal year, it needs to be done by June 30th. But in my head, it's, the most important thing is to be in compliance with 237, the LRSD Act. So we can still work towards that effort, but if it's...
So if we went past on those two things that are not part of LRNs, that you're suggesting pulling and treating differently, we would not risk the funding loss.
That is my understanding.
Okay,
Yes,
and we would have more time to work that part out.
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
But I mean, ideally, we want it all to be done by the end of the June meeting, ideally. But if it doesn't, then...
So the consequence for those that are not connected to LRNs, not connected to a funding consequence, the consequence of those going beyond June, what would be the consequence for that?
It would require, in order to be applicable to the contract, the next year's contract, the majority of the staff would have to vote to be applicable to them.
Okay. Okay. And so then, but do you think that it could still be done, we would still have enough time to do that in June?
I'm hopeful that is the case, yes.
Okay.
But in that instance, it would have to be, in order to vote on it in June, it would have to be, it would have to come to you as a PPC proposal for it to get done in time, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay.
Because if it's a board proposal, then it has to be voted on as a board proposal, go back to the PPC.
So it would have to be a PPC proposal coming to us in our June meeting for that to happen. Or I guess, would it be correct to understand, if we had a special meeting at our agenda meeting, we could make a board proposal to the PPC and we'd have 10 days for it to come back?
Right.
God bless you,
And thinking
whoever
about the
it is.
calendar, if
Bless you.
there are 10 days between those.
There's 2
meetings,
weeks.
Okay, then yes.
There's
then
2
yes.
weeks.
Yes.
In a regular month as opposed to this month, which is 1 week.
Yes, actually, that works as well, yes.
So there'd be 2 different ways that we could get it done. So if the administration felt like, I think we're gonna be able to have a joint, we can agree with a PPC proposal, we could go the one route. If it felt like, well, I don't think we're gonna make it that far, and we may have to do the best we can and go forward, then we could do the special meeting board proposal for the first meeting in June. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Superintendent-
that helps me, thank you.
Superintendent, you had something to add to you.
Never mind. I think never mind. So, the RIF is not in, when you were talking about things that could wait, you weren't talking about the RIF policy, you were talking about the makeup of the PPC and the grievance policy.
Correct.
The RIF is something we have to get done.
Yes.
But okay.
So the request that the administration is making for us now it's different than what this motion is.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
It is different.
yes, because he
So-
wants us
That's why I
to
was
remove
confused.
3.0 and 3.25.
So could you summarize the recommendation then, Mr. Walker?
The recommendation, is that, what I'm asking is that the board adopt the revisions to section 3 with the exception of 3.0 and 3.25, as a board proposal to be sent to the PPC, and then whatever the rest of the motion says.
And the revision to section 8. Revision to section 8 as
I would,
stated.
well, I would make the same, I mean, section 8 and section 3 mirror each other substantially.
Okay.
Now, the classified PPC did not take issue
Okay.
with the policies at all.
Okay.
So but in all fairness, I would ask for the same thing for the classified.
So the exceptions would be
The
8.0 and
exceptions.
8.25?
Well, it's different in this, in 8. Let me,
Yeah.
8.0 is one of them, but the grievance one in section 8 is,
While you're looking for that, I'm gonna take a moment. I'm gonna go on record.
8.19.
You know, I think we all know this, but we need to say it and be really clear. There's a policy included in here that really negatively affects our trans students. That is directly pulled from the LRNS Act. It is not something that we have any wiggle room on. But we cannot pass it without acknowledging the harm that it will do and really reaffirm that all of our students, including our, gay, lesbian, trans, non-binary students, are welcome and they are valued. And, we live in Arkansas and we have to follow the laws of the state of Arkansas, but your school district will do everything that we can to value you.
And I second that with what you said, and thank you for saying it so beautifully.
And
And
I know she also means to also include all of our staff members as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
That policy, I need to look, but it's specifically about students. And so that's why I was.
So, Mr. Walker, you said 8.0 and
8.19.
8.19.
I don't want to muddy the waters, but with the, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
With the rift, if there was something that the board wanted to do tonight to change something that's in that model policy before we send it to the PPC as a proposal, just in case, let's just say, and I don't know, but let's just say we don't come to an agreement and you guys have adopted a proposal that you don't necessarily want, like, I don't want that, I just.
Why do we have to adopt something before you all go to
Time.
PPC? Time, okay.
Again, if that is something, for us to look at, then can someone print it out and give it to us? Cause I can't connect to the Wi-Fi for some reason.
No, we can all still, even if you adopt the board proposal as is, the way that I just kind of described it, we can still talk about that RIF policy and potentially submit something different where, like Dr. Wright said, it would, this one would be.
It's separate,
We
right?
could, that could happen, but it would have to be a PPC proposal or joint proposal for that to happen, but
Because it
it is
could,
possible, yes.
because it could come, so if we did this, we could come back and whatever feedback we get, the board as itself would make its own change and take action on it in June,
Correct.
Okay.
correct?
Given the scenario that you described earlier, yes, absolutely.
Yes, okay. If that's all there, then I would be prepared to make that motion that the Little Rock School Board adopt the revisions to section 3 with the exception of 3.0 and 3.25 licensed personnel as a board proposal to be sent to the PPC for consideration before the board votes to adopt the policy revisions.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Adams, second by Director Johnson, for the revisions to section 3, 3.0, and 3.2.5. Am I correct?
3.25.
3.25?
With the exceptions,
With the
right?
exception.
With the exceptions of 3.0 and 3.25, to be sent to the PPC for consideration before the board votes to adopt the policy revisions. Any other questions on readiness? Director Callaway?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
No, that's Director Nolan.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely, I don't know how to vote on this because I don't like this policy as it is. And not just because we have to comply with LEARNs, but I also don't want to put us in a bind in terms of timing. And so that we have something to put before the PPC, I can understand us going ahead and just putting something before them. But I have to tell you that if it comes back just like this, I'm probably a no on it. Right, like that's, and so that's, that it just needs to be clear that this is not a message to the PPC that we are behind these policies.
All right. Any other unreadiness? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposers? The motion carries.
Then Mr. Mason, if appropriate, then I would make the second motion that the LRSD board adopt revisions to section 8 with the exceptions of 8.0 and 8.19.
That's right.
Classified personnel as board proposal to be sent to PPC for consideration before the board votes to adopt the policy revisions.
Second.
Director Adams made the motion. Director Wesley seconded the motion to adopt revisions except for section 8 for the exceptions of 8.0 and 8.19 of classified personnel as board proposal to send to the PPC for consideration before the board votes to adopt the policy revisions. Any other unreadiness discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposers? The motion carries. We don't have the executive session, so the next item on the agenda is board comments.
Oh, okay. All right, we can be home by 8. Home by 8.
In my board comment, I'll just note and congratulate and acknowledge the Jefferson PTA. They have come together. They brought you a proposal a while back about building an outdoor classroom for pavilion to honor Malin Opitz, who was a student that passed away. I have now seen some mock-up drawings of it, and they have begun raising money, and the community has really rallied around that effort. And so I just want to congratulate them on what they're doing.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Morning, you're not a director. Director Morning? All right. Director Hatter?
I just have one comment. It's really particularly around our personnel hearings. I think that we really need to think about whether or not we want to go back to doing our personnel hearings the way that it was done back in 2014 and back when we had an elected board, just to make sure that like we are able to provide that level of due diligence. And so for those who don't remember how it went back when the room was brown and green, it would, and then it was a part of our board meetings, and then if it was a closed personnel hearing, everybody left. If it was opened, it stayed, folks stayed in. Of course, it wasn't streamed, but I still have concerns about the way that this is being gone about and how long it takes. So just because of all of our schedules. So that is something I do want to bring forth. And then the last thing I would say is, no, it was never mind. Those was addressed already. So, okay, that's all I have.
Any other comments? You can comment now.
Ms. Mosby is here, and so I wanted to take a moment to have her represent her school, but I am so amazed and proud of the work that is going on at Carver, the STEAM Arts Magnet School. I mean, I know we recorded it today, so I'm hoping that all of our board members can get a chance to see the drama teacher, the music teachers, all of the teachers at the school, and just to see the level of engagement and the quality of the production today, it was better than the Christmas, and I was blown away at the winter performance. It was unreal. I mean, watching the students, the choreography, the dancing, the singing. I mean, they memorized all of these lines. It was like a miniature high school production. I mean, it was amazing, and so just so proud of what's happening at Carver, and then just to see all the kids who were not participating but was sitting there listening. I go to a lot of schools. And the kids were so engaged and paying attention and watching what was going on. I mean, it was just something amazing to see. And so I'm hoping that in the future we all get a chance to see the brilliant things that are happening at Carver. And I wouldn't be surprised that in a couple of years it's one of our schools where we're having people beating down the door to get into, because it's just that good. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
You know what, Doc? That brings us to a conversation we had like a couple years ago or whatever, about showcasing our students at our board meetings, like having, whether it's like every quarter or whatever, about having a piece of that school, whatever that talent is, to come before, just to where the board could see that, as well as more so, and so like the public can see that. And then of course we can always go to these events, and schools is able to continue to invite all of us, but it's just something about having our students right at our board meetings.
Director Adams, you had a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mason, I'm sorry, Dr. Wright's comment jogged my memory. This past Saturday night, I was at the Arkansas Symphony Pops concert, and in the second part of that Pops concert, the Parkview Choir participated, backed up the singer, and also performed a song all on their own. They did an excellent job, represented the district so well. It was a proud night for Parkview and for the district as a whole to see that. It's a really full house of people from all across the community, and so congratulations to the Parkview Choir.
Any other comments on board comments period?
We have graduations this week.
Yes.
Next week. Okay, either way. LRSD has been able to have very, like happy, fun, orderly, safe graduation ceremonies, and we have not dealt with some of the problems that other districts in our area have had to. So I want to thank our parents and our kids, and let's try to, make it another year of really great graduation ceremonies and not have any of the problems that have plagued other schools recently.
All right. Thank you, Director Nolan. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
It's been moved. Without objection, we will adjourn.
All right.